Hey guys, coming to you live from Sam Davis Park right here in Pulaski. It's another edition of the Coach's Corner presented by PES. Alongside Bobcats head coach David O'Connor, I'm Wade Neely, your host this afternoon. Coach, let's dive in. Non-region game last week, but a Bobcat victory nonetheless, 49-14. Solid win over a good Kenwood team out of Clarksville.
A really good win. I thought our kids came out, played really well second half. I think that was by far the best game we've played offensively for two halves. But as good a half as we've played any time this year in the second half defensively.
We talked a lot about the matchup last week against Kenwood, their talented backfield led by Antoine Branch. He finished less than 100 yards, and I believe he finished less than 10 yards rushing in the second half. Why were you guys so effective at bottling him up in the third and fourth quarters?
The crazy thing is I don't think we did anything different. I think our kids decided, and I asked a couple of our kids this morning at breakfast, and they says, Coach, we came out with we decided ourselves we were better than what we were playing, and we would come out and show it, and they did.
It was a big win for the Bobcats. So you mentioned the offense. This offense continues just to kind of improve week by week, it seems. John Bacchus, the quarterback, throwing for almost 300 yards. Arkell Reed, the running back, he has over 100 yards rushing. He also had over 100 yards receiving. Seems like the Cats are finally starting to find that complete balance they're looking for.
We're starting to get a better idea of exactly how we need to use all of our athletes. We've got some weapons, and I think as a coaching staff and the offensive coaches, we're doing a better job of getting a good grip on exactly how we need to use each of those guys.
So a couple of those guys, let's talk about one, Knox Birdsong. Nice receiving game for Knox last week. Kind of a guy that's been hidden on the depth chart for a couple of weeks. You can just throw him out there, and he's close to 100 yards receiving last week.
Well, the good thing about Knox is I don't know if he's dropped a pass all year. He has been really I better knock on some wood right there, for sure. Knox has been really consistent with his hands all year, and he's really deceptively fast and quick, and he moves well. I think being just a sophomore, he's got a lot of great football left in him.
We've talked about the sophomore. We've got some upperclassmen as well. Peyton Hall, another great receiving night for him. He also snuck in through a pass downfield.
Yes, he did.
Seems like he's really kind of starting to feel ultra comfortable with this offense as well.
He is, and the crazy thing is every day in practice he tries to sneak in and run running back. So he wants to get a few more touches, I'd say.
No doubt. Speaking of touches, we've got to talk about Key McDonald. He was wearing us out all week saying, when's Coach going to let me get the ball? When's Coach going to let me get the ball? He finally gets his hands on it. He gets that touchdown he's been looking for.
Yeah, the crazy thing is that those particular plays with Key and Tanner weren't really even in our game plan for the week. We got down there close to the end zone, though. I figured we'd just throw those guys a bone as well. And not just those guys. You would have never seen a more excited guy in your life than Trillion Marks after he scored his touchdown.
Yeah, let's talk about Trillion. He goes in the second half. He's switched roles. He started out on the O-line. He's now kind of developed into that H-back, that fullback. He kind of looks like a modern fullback back there.
He does, well, I don't know about modern for sure, a throwback fullback. That old school, short, thick, strong, physical kid, and that's what he is. He really prides himself on being physical.
Let's talk physicality. Let's talk the offensive line. 2 weeks ago against Marshall County, John Bacchus really struggling at times to keep a clean pocket. Had some issues in the first half. In the second half, though, it seemed like Bacchus was able to stand upright for the entire second half there.
For sure, and a lot of that's attributed to that we have an offensive line and then a defensive line, and Kenwood's kids were going both ways. Their linemen played all the whole game offense. They were just wore out, and by the end we had worn them down, and they really could care less about rushing the passer, I think.
And we mentioned John throwing the ball downfield. A lot of those yards going to Arkell in the screen game. That's obviously an evolving kind of secret weapon in the offense. Arkell, when he gets some blockers, he can make some magic happen.
In open space, he does a really good job running, finding, choosing lanes, and he's got a little extra gear he can hit that a lot of people can't.
Let's talk defense, Coach. We mentioned Antoine Branch. We mentioned the talented backfield of Kenwood. Cats did have a couple of missed assignments in the secondary in the first half. When you go back and watch those on tape, what did you see?
Just as you said, a couple of missed assignments. Guys overly anxious to get up and help defend against Branch in the run game. And when that happens, it's just like I told you earlier, a good wing team offense will milk you to sleep or rock you to sleep with their run game, and before you know it, they slip somebody behind you and throw one over your head, and you're thinking, holy cow, they hadn't done that all game.
We'll talk about another talented running back. It seems like the Cats face a good one every week, but you go back and you watch tape on Antoine Branch. He's going to Purdue. How good was that guy you saw last week?
Really good, really good. I'm not sure how good his offensive line was. They struggled at times. I felt like, you know, as bad as it was, D on the radio last week saying they didn't block real well. Come to find out, D was right. They did not block real well for him Friday night, and I think that helped out because our D line, I think, kind of second half established a new line of scrimmage and made things tough on Antoine.
Your brother, Coach Joe O'Connor, he's working with that defensive line. What has he said to you? What have you noticed out of these guys? Seems like they bring it every single week and are getting better every single week.
They are, and that's one of the few places we've got good depth. You know, we've got those three guys that he's starting up front on the D line with D. McElroy, Samari Howell, and Jacquez White. Those three guys are good, and then he rolls in Jade Pilon in there, who from a lot of teams would be a big time starter on the defensive line, and Jay's has really improved and by leaps and bounds all year, and he came in the other night. He made big plays. So, you know, we have some depth, and Joe's feeling really good about our depth on the D line, and if we can keep improving there, you know, the sky's the limit with those guys.
Yeah, Coach Roger Haynes, he's kind of getting a great grasp of what he's got talent-wise with the defense. Key McDonald, we talked about him offensively, but he's really making his marks defensively. What did you see out of number 10 on tape? He was flying around in the backfield.
That's correct. By far his best game. You know, and just talk a little football knowledge or talk, whatever. You know, Key, a lot of times at linebacker has a tendency to make his reads and flow flat up and down the line of scrimmage instead of attacking downhill. Friday night was by far his best game of the season at attacking downhill and running better angles.
We've talked about him a lot. It's still his first full season as a Bobcat playing here at the Brickyard. He's enjoying every single moment. What's the ceiling for this kid? It seems like he is improving by leaps and bounds every week.
Oh, he's in my mind, if he plays 4 years, he's a big-time college prospect. And I still think he's going to have a shot to play on Saturday somewhere at some level just because what the skill set he has. Now, honing those skills and improving all that, that's still a work in progress.
We'll talk more about Key as the season rolls along, but he's obviously been a standout for you guys. Who else in your mind, particularly in that maybe linebacker and even into that next level of the secondary, who's been improving the most that you've seen recently?
Maybe the best player on our team at this point of the season may be Brandon Rowan. You know, he brings it offensively. He does a really good job in our pass game when we go 5 wide, and then defensively he brings a lot of havoc to the offense, moving around in coverage and on blitzes.
We've talked about some other guys too. Siri Holt, we've seen him at that secondary position also. On the other side, Keegan Potter. What's the status of the cornerbacks, especially the offense you face this week? It's kind of explosive run and pass.
Yeah, it makes it a little tougher. They've got, as a matter of fact, Spring Hill will have 2 good quarterbacks. It's almost cornerback by committee with us right now, and who's making the better plays at that point of the week.
Finally, in the deep secondary, Tanner Holly. He's the senior. Is he kind of the captain right now of that secondary of this defense?
I'd say so. He makes most of the calls. Brandon Rowan also makes calls. And then Trent Burns has been a guy that's just kind of kept himself in the spot and shows up on Friday night and makes big plays.
Coach, didn't see a lot of it. What did you see out of the kicking game last week against Kenwood? Anything you want to improve as you head into a big one this week?
Well, you know, I really expected them to do a little better job on their kickoff returns, but I think Jedediah Jenkins did a much better job of placing the ball where we wanted to try to place it and limit what they could do in the return game, and he did a good job of that, and they got no returns.
It was homecoming last week. How was that process, and how great was it to be back here at the Brickyard?
I was really a little disappointed in what Kenwood brought, you know. But I'm going to tell you what, our side was electric as usual. You know, the Bobcat faithful, they come out and to support us. The 12th man here is as good as anywhere in the state.
I'm not sure the scheduling. We're here just 1 week. Now we got to go back on the road this week.
We do, and then the crazy thing is then we get a week off. You know, so we got to go to Spring Hill this week, then we get a week off, and so it'll be a couple more weeks before we get back to the Brickyard.
Well, we're excited. We look forward to that, but we've still got another game to preview, and we'll do that on the other side of this timeout. It's Giles County on the road, huge region contest up at Spring Hill. We'll dive into that matchup on the other side of this break. It's the Coach's Corner Show presented by PES.
At the Giles County Courthouse, judges and jurors make decisions every day that significantly affect people's lives. Jurors may decide who goes to the penitentiary. Judges may choose which parent will raise children. Both could decide how your heirs share your property. If you are confronting any of these difficult legal issues in your life or business, please allow the experienced lawyers at Andrew Hoover and Attorneys to be with you in every step.
I've got my closest friends over to watch the game on cable. Did you know you can advertise your local business during this cable program? Via Media represents the advertising for your cable system. They could put a TV commercial for you right here on this system during this show. Let Via Media help you. Call Via Media today or viamediatv.com.
Have you been thinking about getting back in shape? Or maybe you're an avid exerciser looking for something different? Come check us out at P-Town Strength and Fitness, where we offer a wide variety of functional movements, systematically programmed to help you get started and maximize your physical potential. Enjoy the sense of community, camaraderie, and teamwork in our one-of-a-kind group setting that will assist you in your quest for physical well-being. For more information, check us out on Facebook at P-Town Strength and Fitness or stop by at 200 East Jefferson Street in Pulaski.
In 2012, enough prescriptions were written for opioid pain medication for every American adult to have their own bottle of pills. 1 in 4 non-cancer related users struggles with addiction. Physical therapy is a safe and effective alternative to opioids for long-term pain management. Choose the safer way to manage pain. To learn how physical therapy can be an alternative for pain management, contact Benchmark Physical Therapy to schedule a consultation.
Hey guys, welcome back. Coming to you live from Sam Davis Park right here in downtown Pulaski. Second half of the Coach's Corner show. We're presented as always by PES. Wade Neely here and Bobcats head coach David O'Connor there. Coach, region play. We go in, we go out. This week we're back in and we've got a huge one on the road at Spring Hill. Bobcats are 1-1. Spring Hill's 1-1. This is kind of a do or die game as far as looking down the road at the playoff pecking order.
Well, I don't know if it's do or die yet, but it has a lot
big game at least.
A lot of implications on this game for sure, Wade. You know, Page has jumped out and got a big win over Spring Hill, something that most people would not have predicted. And you know, for us to stay up and give ourselves a good shot at a good probably home playoff game possibly, you know, we need to win this week.
Coach Jay Emmons, this is his first season. Coach Trachetta out after all those years there at Spring Hill. Coach Emmons is back, and it seems like they didn't really skip a beat as far as talent. When you grade Spring Hill from what you've seen, talent-wise, it seems like are they one of the better teams you've seen on paper?
For the 22 players they put on the field offensively and defensively, I'd say they may be the best team we've played. Offensively and defensively, it sounds like balance could be a huge factor in this game. What does Spring Hill possess that is so explosive? Kind of like us offensively, you know, that I feel like they have several weapons. They've got a good quarterback. We've got a good quarterback. They've got a great running back. We've got a good running back, a great running back. You know, it's pretty much about balanced out offensively. It's going, I guess, at the end of the day, who's going to bring the best defense in the game. Let's dive into some of those guys. You're talking about Blake Lovell. He's a kid that's familiar with the area. I believe he even maybe played a couple years at Summit. He rolls right in. He's kind of directing that offense. And Dante Smith, this is a guy that a lot of folks are saying could be one of the best running backs in the state back there for the Raiders. He's good. I think Arkell Reed's going to have a lot to say about that and wants to bring a little bit and show that on Friday night. I feel like Arkell matches up as good as any running back in the state. And not just Arkell. I think our offensive line gives it for Arkell pretty much every Friday night. On the outside, the younger Odin, Tylen Odin, of course, he graduates finally, thank goodness, and he's up at Rutgers. But his younger brother, he's out there on the sidelines, and this is a kid that's 6 foot plus, maybe even 6'2" or 3. 6'3". Matchup kind of nightmare. He is, because we play the midgets out on the corners. It seems like every time, but I'm gonna tell you, our guys are gonna play hard. And they're really excited about going up against what they call a D1 prospect. And you know, I think the Odin kid has been offered by Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, several big Division I schools, and it's a challenge for our kids, but I think they look forward to it. As far as run pass, how does Spring Hill look? Do they try and target one or the other, or is it kind of just game flow really? It's because they do have that good running back, I think they really want to run the ball a little bit more. They're probably 60-40, I'd say. Big win over Tullahoma a couple weeks ago for them. They've had a full week now, had the bye week last week. They've had a full week to prepare. Do you anticipate what wrinkles, if anything, do you anticipate they're going to maybe throw at the Cats this week? I'm sure there's going to be some different things thrown at us. course, the only thing we can prepare for is what they've been doing, and then adjust on the fly, which is really game plans are out the door a lot of games after about the first quarter, and then you try to make it to halftime and make some adjustments, and I'm sure that's what it's going to be Friday night, really, for both teams.
Yeah, you mentioned both teams explosive offense, kind of almost a wash offensively in your mind.
Pretty close. I think each of us have a little special thing we do. At the end of the day, I think it's going to come down to turnovers and being able to take care of the football, possess the ball, maybe run some clock. All those things are going to be intangibles that are going to add up to make the difference in the game.
Defensively, let's talk. We've seen Shelbyville, we've seen the Wing T, we've seen Marshall County, and then last week we saw an explosive back in Mr. Antoine Branch. How does this Spring Hill offense compare to all those, and how can the Bobcat defense use those previous experiences to build up for Friday?
I think Shelbyville and last week combined were really good matchup combinations. They should help us. I mean, both of those two games are really similar to what we're going to see Friday night.
Big region game. We talked a lot about the secondary in the first half of the show. How important is it going to be to those guys? Don't bite too early on the run and stay assignments defensively.
Assignment sound of the secondary is going to be big this week. Play and coverage. I know coaches kind of throwing a few change-ups at them, trying to mess up their quarterback reads and things, and so we're going to have to be able to mentally be able to process those assignment changes and be able to play matchup type defenses. We
saw the Cats 2 weeks ago against Marshall County. They kind of bring in a little more pressure here and there. Maybe even Lincoln County. Is that still kind of just a game by game? We don't throw the kitchen sink at every offense. How does that work with Coach Haynes there?
Coach Haynes does a pretty good job. I think every week he comes up with about 3 different ways he wants to play formations or stop plays, and he's got 3 different either movements or stunts that he can do it with, and he'll start as base as he can and then slowly progress into the more of attacking type defense if he needs it.
Let's go back to the Bobcat offense here. What matchups, what areas, without giving too much away, can you exploit that you've seen on tape from Spring Hill?
It's really hard to say. I think there's some things we could possibly do in the run game. Of course, with that being said, John Backus has an arm that most teams don't get to see very often, because in high school, if you have to cover much past 35 yards, DBs almost get lax to sleep that they don't cover much past 35, because most quarterbacks can't push the ball that far downfield. We got a quarterback that can. So you'll see a lot of games we'll have people come open deep in the secondary. So hopefully that's something we can exploit this week.
One of those guys, we haven't called his name in a couple weeks. What's KJ Ziegler looking like going into this Friday night? He's had some big play experience the first couple games of the season. Kind of been a little quiet the last few weeks though.
Yeah, he's had some things and a lot of that comes from having a couple big explosive games early. People focused on covering him, so he's not the guy that comes open in routes a lot, or the last couple weeks, because he did have such explosive games. And that's really what kind of opened Knox up, and John has done a really good job of going through his progression and just working his way to the next guy every time. And that's the reason when you look on their stat sheets, you're going to see that we have 5 guys with 10 or more catches on the year already.
I already saw even a big catch last week. The big tight end, 82, Max Jett's kind of working his way in the passing game.
Oh, Max Jett has really good hands. He's still got a ways to go in his blocking. Got to become more physical in the run game. But as far as catching the ball, having good concentration, taking care of it, and ball skills down the field, Max Jett's pretty good.
Going back to a guy we mentioned in the first segment as well, Trillion Marks. He's still developing in that fullback role. Obviously, he's embracing it and he's enjoying it. How fun is it to watch him develop into what he's become in that backfield?
It's really fun, because it's something that he never thought he'd ever in his lifetime play. And 2 weeks ago, I kind of suggested to him, and even up through middle of last week, he still wasn't real sure about it. But I think smelling the end zone and getting a little bit of taste of that, I think, really quenched his thirst a little bit and makes him want to get back in there and do a little better.
He's wanting to throw a couple blocks. If you can promise him, maybe he'll get a carry or 2 down the road.
He does. I'm sure there's somewhere down at that side thinks we may throw him a pass. That's not going to happen.
Okay, we'll put that on the record for the rest of the season. Finally, the Cats can throw it deep, but we saw them last week. They really like to. They can also throw it short, screen game, whether it's wide receivers or with Arkell out of the backfield. Seems like it's becoming a huge weapon for you guys.
It is, and the more we throw the ball down the field, the more that is going to come open. And so, everything works off one another. You got to be able to run to throw. You got to be able to throw to run. And if you do both of those well, if you throw some screens in there and some naked boots, it makes it tough to stop on any defense.
Finally, let's talk intangibles. Let's talk about the experience. Cats are on the road. Spring Hill probably going to have a big crowd, perhaps maybe even more vocal than in years past. They kind of feel like they're in the mix in this region. What are you anticipating from the hostile environment standpoint this weekend?
I think it's going to be a great environment. It'll be a lot like it was when we went to Marshall County last week. And what we're going to need is our 12th man on the road with us this week. You know, our band does a good job of keeping us going, and that 12th man keeping the energy flowing through the Bobcats, and so we can be successful this week.
Finally, region contest. Any final thoughts on a huge one at Spring Hill? The winner of this game setting up pretty nicely to maybe potentially finish second or possibly even outside chance at first later down the road.
That's right, and you never know what happens, and it has a lot of implications on how we could seed for the playoffs if we can, both of us can be fortunate enough to get in, and I feel like our region is probably as good a region as there is in the state, barring maybe one of those regions out of East Tennessee, but. We got to get in and we got to get ourselves ready to play that next round.
Coach, it's one of the favorite times of the year too. We can possibly look at sweatshirt and shorts weather on Friday night. What's the forecast looking like?
Well, it looks like it's going to be a high in the low 70s and a low in around high 40s, and of course that low probably is not going to come early the next morning, but I'd say the temperature is going to be in the low 60s, upper 50s by the end of the game, and it ought to be what I would call football weather, and I'm sure you're going to call it football weather. And really, like we talked about earlier, it'll be my favorite time of the year. Anytime you can wear shorts and a sweatshirt, life's pretty good.
Good deal. Well, Coach, we anticipate it. Best of luck on Friday. Bring home a win against the Raiders.
We appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much. That's all the time we've got for this edition of the Coach's Corner Show. We've been presented, as always, by PES. Thanks to Bobcats head coach David O'Connor, and thank you for tuning in. Again, a reminder, this Friday night, it's Giles County on the road at Region 4-4A rival Spring Hill. Kickoff is set for 7 p.m. We'll see you right back here next week on the Coach's Corner Show presented by PES.